So now we're going to be looking at quadratic equations, and we're going to solve them. So we need to figure out what the variable equals. So let's take a look at number 5 here on the worksheet. 3k squared plus 72 equals 33k. All right, well, the first thing I do when I need to solve, or even when I'm factoring, I first need to make sure everything is on the same side, or my equation has to be equal to 0. So in order to find out what the x-intercepts are, I plug in 0 for y. With most quadratic equations, it's y equals x squared plus something plus something. So we're going to plug in 0 for y, but in order to do that, everything has to be on the same side. So that means I need to move 33k to the other side with everything else. So that will give me 3k squared minus 33k plus 72 equals 0. So I have equals 0, good. And notice how negative 33k goes in front of 72. We always want to make sure our equations are in order. Highest exponents first, then it goes down the line or in descending order and ends with the constants or just the numbers. All right, looking at this problem, I think I can make this easier because if I factor this will look really hard. I believe there's a greatest common factor I could take out, which is 3. So if I factor out a 3, I should get k squared minus 11k plus 24 equals 0. This makes this problem a lot easier. So let's go ahead and factor what's in the parentheses. Now, notice how the 3 is going to stay on the outside. We're going to deal with that in a little bit. So we're just going to factor what's in the parentheses, k squared minus 11k plus 24. When we factor, I like making my x factor chart. The number that will go on top is 24 because it's the invisible 1 in front of k squared times 24, which is 24. And what goes on the bottom is b, which is negative 11. So I need the right combination that multiplies to give me positive 24, but adds to give me negative 11, which will be negative 8 and negative 3. So when I rewrite my equation, I replace negative 11k with negative 8 and negative 3. So I should get k squared minus 8k minus 3k plus 24. All right, now, what I like to do, we factor by grouping, so I'm going to group the first 2 terms and the last 2 terms. I'm keeping the 3 on the outside, and I'm going to add brackets to this. And when I factor it out, I should factor out a k out of the first group, so it'll leave me a k minus 8. Out of the second group, on my greatest common factor, I'm going to factor out a 3, but I'm going to factor out a negative 3. Because remember, the goal of when we factor by grouping, we need the parentheses to match. And if I factor out a negative 3, they will match. So k minus 8 matches, and so I write k minus 8 once. And then k minus 3 matches, so we write the leftovers there. And notice how I drop down the 3. Now, we did the factoring, but the instructions tell us to solve. So in order to solve, I set each part equal to 0. That's called the zero product property. So 3 equals 0, k minus 8 equals 0, and k minus 3 equals 0. All right, 3 equals 0. Does that make sense? Nope. So we can just cross that out because that's not going to be an answer. 3 doesn't equal 0, so that answer doesn't exist. So now we only have 2 things to deal with. K minus 8 equals 0. Let's start there. So in order to get k by itself, add 8. And then k equals 8. All right, on the second one, to get k by itself, we add 3, both sides, and k equals 3. So I have my 2 answers. That's how I solve. And that is where my 2 x-intercepts will be, at 8 and at 3. Those are the 2 places where my parabola will cross the x-axis.